Fatal attacks on law enforcement officials rose at what the FBI is now calling a staggering rate last year. The number of in-line deaths in 2016 spiked nearly 40% from a year ago. Here with me now, former Trump campaign advisor and former FBI National Joint Terrorism Task Force member and current Donald J. Trump for President Inc. Advisory Board member Steve Rogers. Steve, what do you make of this? Because those are numbers for 2016. They're actually increasing, I think, so far this year. There's an out-and-out war against law enforcement.
Charles, 8 years of the Obama Justice Department has left a chilling effect on law enforcement nationwide. 8 years of politically correct policing policies have emboldened people to challenge the police like at no other time in American history. And police officers, look, they're going to do their job no matter what happens, but there is now a hesitancy for them to become deeply involved in a lot of stuff because now they have to be concerned whether they end up becoming the bad guy instead of the good guy. And I must tell you that President Trump has worked very hard to reverse that trend, and it is succeeding. It is.
Well, where do you see it succeeding? Because I'm not sure that I see it. And of course, Friday we had a New Orleans police officer, Marcus McNeil. He was killed in the line of duty. And I got to tell you, the New Orleans Saints had a moment of silence for him right before the game, and several players were kneeled, of course, during the national anthem, and they continued to kneel through that moment of silence. It just feels like the disrespect is on a lot of levels.
Well, it is on a lot of levels, but the president has made it clear that the Justice Department is going to lean more towards supporting police officers. Look, if a cop's wrong, they're wrong. The president's made clear of that. But he's returned to them the tactical and strategic equipment they need to address violent crimes. Training is going up rapidly. And the morale, very important, as you know, in any quasi-military or military organization, the morale that the police are now seeing increase nationwide because of the president's attitude towards them.
So someone watching this who may be critical of the police will say, well, here's a guy who just admitted that police are a quasi-military operation. Is that the way we want Americans to see the police, or do you want to see them in a softer light, that they can obviously fight fire with fire, hence we should give them the tools to do it, but should the public relations angle be something slightly different? Because you and I have talked about community policing and things like that.
That's a great question. The people should look at the police as their friends. I use quasi-military because we wear uniforms. There is discipline, there is order, there's training like at no other profession, at no other level. But when it comes to a relationship with the public, the police are the good guys. Community policing, which the president is committed to, building relationships from everyone living and working in their communities. And we need to return to that, and I believe the president is going to make sure that happens.
It feels like we're at some form of an inflection point, maybe early, but we're getting there where we could either turn back to what you're promising or what you think can happen, or we could descend into what we were in the 70s and the 80s. Now, we both remember those periods, particularly in New York. Really tough. I mean, I lived in a neighborhood where the police didn't really like to go too often unless they absolutely had to go there. That's a dangerous, slippery slope, isn't it?
It is. We have much better educated police officers on the job now. But it's all about leadership, Charles. It's about a commander-in-chief from the White House down to the command level on the street of police officers. When you know your commander's willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with you through tough times as well as good times, you're going to see morale increase. The police are going to go out of their way overwhelmingly. And I'll tell you this, you'll see the public go out of their way overwhelmingly to help the police.
My nephew's a police officer in New York. He got married on Saturday, and it was great to see so many young people in the police force. And by the way, it was like that mosaic that David Dinkins used to talk about. Everything, everybody. It was just, it felt really great. And I really felt, the sort of optimism that you always bring to the table. Do you think that's indicative of what we're seeing across the country? Are young people starting now to gravitate to perhaps law enforcement?
Yes, I believe that. We see and hear so much negative things about this millennial generation. There are millions out there, just like your nephew, who are stepping up. And you know what they're doing? They're contributing to their country, not only their city or their state, but to this great country.
Steve Rogers, always one of the favorites. The fans are always asking for you, so
well,
you got them, guys. Thanks a lot, Steve.
You.
Well, President